What's going on, guys? My name's Jeff and we are back behind the glass. So today's video topic isn't going to be me going out or doing anything. Instead, I'm just going to be sitting here talking to you about why you might be struggling with actually keeping fish. Now, there's a lot of different reasons why somebody might be struggling or why you might be struggling. It could be just one of these reasons. It could be all 5 of these reasons. But ultimately, somewhere along the line, everybody struggles with their fish keeping journey at one point or another. If you find this type of content interesting, be sure to subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and with all that being said, let's jump right into things. So the very first reason why you might actually be struggling with your fish keeping is that you might not have done enough research on the type of fish that you're keeping. Now, this isn't really the fault of anybody on their own. Everybody knows the story where you go to the fair and you have that little ping pong game where you throw the ping pong ball into the goldfish bowl at the carnival and then you win the goldfish. Congratulations! So now what do you do with the goldfish? Well, most people don't do their research, or they just do a really quick Google guide of like how to care for goldfish, and then they get like the basic requirements of filter, water, good. And you can't blame people for not knowing when maybe you were a kid or maybe you were a parent with kids and the kid really wanted to keep it but you didn't know any better, and nobody can really blame you for that. But if chances are, if you're here, you're a little bit more than just a goldfish at a carnival fish keeper. So we're gonna go ahead and assume that since you're here, you're doing more research and this shouldn't really be a problem for you, but it still might be something for you to consider, especially if you're keeping something that's really fragile, like cichlids, discus, or saltwater aquariums. You know, you really want to make sure that you do the research on the particular species that you're going to be keeping. The second reason that you might be struggling with your fish keeping journey is that you just might have too small of a tank. Now, why is tank size important? Well, tank size by itself, I'm not going to include any fish in here, but just tank size by itself is really important because the more water that you have, the more stable that it is. Comparatively, I'm going to rotate the camera over here. The less water that you have, the less stable it is. Now, why is that? Well, it's just like, kind of like under a blanket. When you're sleeping and you cover yourself with the blanket, you find it much harder to breathe compared to like being in the living room. There's a lot more open, fresh air and you can breathe much more freely. Well, it's kind of the same for fish. You know, the smaller an area, the faster that ammonia and other bad chemicals build up within the tank. And the faster, the more often that you have to do water changes, the bigger that your water change has to be. And actually that relates to the next point that I'm going to be bringing up. But overall, all you need to know is that the bigger of a tank that you have, the easier it's going to be able to keep that tank stable and your fish happy. So the third reason that you might be messing up on your fish keeping is that you might be messing with your tank's biology way too much. And like one really good example of this is something that's really common to do, which is also another thing that I'm going to talk about in just a moment. A lot of us have had to go through a bacteria bloom, or you didn't properly cycle your tank and you put in too many fish too soon, and then your water is now brown and ugly and you can't see through it. So you try and buy like Aqua Clear or a water clarity product, or so you buy like pH up, pH down, pH stabilized. You buy all this unnecessary stuff. And it really messes with your chemistry. The more bottles and the more chemicals you have, the more you're messing up your biology, and the harder it's going to be to actually take care of your tank. It's like the old analogy of KISS, KISS. Keep it simple. Silly. 9 times out of 10, the only thing that you're going to need to take care of your tank is just a bottle of Prime or a bottle of Appy Aqua Essentials. And that's because those are both dechlorinators as well as beneficial bacteria adders. Those are the only products that you really need to keep your tank healthy. You don't need all this extra stuff. Adding on to that, you might also be doing too many water changes. You might be doing water changes once every 2 weeks, but you might be doing too much of a water change. So you might be changing out like 75-80% of your fish's water all at one time, while also cleaning their filter and changing the decorations or something, and you're gonna crash the cycle that way too, and then you're gonna end up back in that horrible or a volute of your water is super brown now. So just keep it really simple. Change out 25 to 30% of your water every 2 weeks is what I recommend. Study based on what you feel is best for you and your schedule and your fish and your environment. Fourth reason you might be struggling with fish keeping is that you might just have too many fish in your tank. And that could be because you just didn't know the limits, or you followed the 1 inch of fish per 1 gallon of water rule, which is severely outdated. That's not true. Maybe you just didn't cycle your tank yet. Maybe your filtration isn't up. We'll get to that in a bit. But you just might have too many fish in your tank. Overall, this is really short. Just if you have too many fish, it's gonna cause problems. So don't have too many fish and you should be fine. So the fifth reason you might be struggling with your fish keeping is that you might not have good enough filtration. Now, personally, I love the Fluval, that's right. So I personally love the Fluval Aqua Clear filters. They're hang-on back filters that have a canister filter system inside of them. They're super, super good for new people who are new to the aquarium hobby. They are the best filters to have for any tank that's 50 gallons or less, in my opinion. Aqua Clear filters are just so good. I mean, I would highly recommend them over any other filter that you have. And then if you get to like tanks like this that are 60 gallons or more, get a Fluval FX4 or FX6 canister filter instead for those larger tanks. So Fluval Aqua Clear and Fluval FX6 or 4, those are the only two filters that you really need to worry about. Third filtration that I can recommend actually is probably a sump system. I'm not going to go too in depth about sumps in this video. Maybe in a future video I'll go over that. But sump systems are incredibly good for, you know, fish tanks like this, or just any large tank that you want to have a more a more standardized and easier to clean system on. Alright, so here's a little bonus reason. It's reason number 6 you might be struggling with your fish keeping journey. Kind of relates to number 4 a little bit, but this is just doing a fish-in cycle. There's multiple different ways that you can cycle your tank. My personal favorite is to do a fish-in cycle, but not everybody can do a fish-in cycle properly. And basically what I'm talking about, if you've never heard of that before, fish-in cycle is where you set up a tank and then you let it run for a day, only a day, or 2 days maybe. And then you put in a fish, 1 or 2 fish. And then you wait a few more days and then you put in more fish. And you know. And then you eventually slowly stock up your tank that way. I'm a fan of doing it that way because I don't like buying ammonia bottles or putting in fish food just to waste it. I feel like it's waste. But regardless, that could also be a reason, is that you're just putting in too many fish too fast, too soon. And yeah, that was just a little video I felt like talking about because it's a topic that's been on my mind for some time now. If you found this video helpful, remember to give the video a like, subscribe to my channel if you're new around here, and also leave a comment down below if you've experienced any of these issues, or if you have any other issues that you came across when you were starting out your fish keeping journey. It's been a pleasure to talk with you guys, and I really look forward to seeing you in the next video. Have a good one.